Hi everyone, Sean Healy, change agent and relationship consultant here. You're watching the Relationship Resourcing Series, a series designed to support people in having better quality business and personal relationships. Welcome to today's episode. This episode is entitled Recognizing Emotional Fusion. Emotional fusion, in effect, is when we are unhealthily emotionally enmeshed and linked into our family system or our partner, and this can have very serious consequences in our relationships long term, not to mention getting in the way of experiencing genuine love and connection. So we wanted to look at some of the potential symptoms of emotional effusion and how over time this leads to us, in particular in our intimate relationships, feeling alienated and disconnected from our partner. Not to mention resentful and sometimes emotionally exhausted, just to, kind of add a few things in there. If you grew up in a family system where everybody was, the undercurrent message was we all need to feel the same. So what I mean by that is, if you ever had the experience that if one of your parents was unhappy or angry, then nobody dare have a different emotion. If mum was unhappy, we all were unhappy. If dad was angry, well, everybody had to duck and run. You certainly would not have walked around the house whistling and being cheery or anything that might be taken as an insult to dad's present emotional state. This is where we learn to kind of, if we're in families that are very rigid and emotionally fused, then we start to suck up each other's anxieties. And indeed, it's almost expected. The emotional undercurrent of the family system becomes contagious. And it's very difficult to experience healthy individuality within this system because it's certainly not endorsed or encouraged. So that we grow up with a sense of kind of this emotional infectiousness and an idea that somehow that's what's required of us to have healthy, loving relationships, where in essence, healthy relationships really rely on us having our own sense of differentiation from others, our own sense of individuality, in order to, ironically, have genuine connection, in particular with our partner, and have an ongoing, healthy, inspiring, uplifting relationship. So some of the symptoms that couples who are emotionally fused go through is, like I said, there's almost a demand that you share my emotional experience. There's, I feel very unsupported if you aren't validating my emotional response to things. If I'm angry at someone, you need to be angry. If I'm upset about something, you need to be upset. And healthy relationships can tolerate two people having entirely different emotional responses at the same time without having an agenda to control or shift our other partner's response. That's the same thing about recognizing true intimacy. One of us can be having a very intimate experience, and we're okay if our partner is not having the same degree or the same interpretation on an experience. It doesn't negate the fact that for us it was an intimate moment, and at the same time we're not dependent on changing our partner's response either. Because one of the things in emotionally fused relationships is that we find that, one reality, one interpretation has to proceed. If I'm fused to my partner, then I'm really invested in making sure that you see the world and you make the same meaning and interpretation of events that I do. And, we can't have we don't have the nuance or the solidity within self to allow somebody else to have a different interpretation of events, and to not have any attachment to that. Emotionally effused couples are very strong on other validated intimacy. I need you to make me feel safe. I need you to validate my experience. I'm only going to share with you if I know that I get a positive response from you. And I'm going to kind of, modify my message to make sure that I optimize the chance that you're going to, I become my own PR company. And I start to kind of twist interpretation or edit it slightly so that I optimize the chance of always getting a receptive response from you, always getting what I consider a positive response from you. But there can be this growing sense of dis-ease behind that, and a sense that, well, I'm not really being honest, and I'm having to I'm presenting a facade. I'm not presenting the whole picture to my partner, because the idea is, well, if you truly knew me, then perhaps you wouldn't love me. So I'm going to become my own PR company and just make sure that I control the information and the messages that I send you, because I'm not strong enough within myself to withstand, or the idea that I might show an element of myself that you don't approve of. And again, in fused couples, this becomes this becomes the way of interacting, or we start to sidestep each other's emotional triggers because we know what's going to upset our partner. So better not bring that topic up. If we do have arguments, then it's very difficult in emotionally fused relationships to let those things go. We keep cycling back on them, we keep bringing them up, and there's a demand that you see things my way. And I will keep going, I will keep badgering you until you adopt my reality. I'm going to demand, because I'm going to demand from you an instant apology or instant reconciliation, because I can't stand the discomfort that sits between us. I can't stand disagreement. I can't stand not being held in positive regard by you, because I can't soothe myself effectively enough. I'm demanding that you soothe me, that you behave in ways that don't trigger anxiety in me. And when we're emotionally effused, that's how we manage ourselves, by trying to manage our partner, rather than being able to sit with what's coming up for us. What's coming up for me in this dynamic? How am I interpreting it? How am I feeling vulnerable? And then what would I need to do to manage and soothe my own anxieties around this, rather than demand that my partner make some change to make me feel better, rather than how do I make me feel better? And when we start to come and we develop a sense that we can self-soothe ourselves, that we can develop our own self-validated intimacy, where I'm not entirely reliant on my partner mirroring to me my sense of self, but rather I'm strong enough in myself that I can be okay that sometimes my partner is not going to agree or endorse or acknowledge or validate everything about me. When we think of that as intimacy, it's a very childlike way to look at things. It's a very all or nothing way to look at things, rather than true intimacy allows for nuance, it allows for disagreement, it allows for difference, and it's okay. It's, that doesn't trigger massive anxiety in me. I'm able to sit within my sense of self. I'm able to own who I am, feeling self-assured and self-reliant, regardless of what my partner is going through. And I'm also not going to buy into and suck up my partner's emotional state. In particular, if I'm more resilient, I'm not prone to sucking up the anxiety of others. And this can be, again, if we haven't learned how to do this, we were never really encouraged in our family system to really sit with who we are, but rather the way we got acceptance and love in our family system was to give ourselves away, was to mold ourselves to the expectation of the family, or at least what we thought the expectations were. Then we really haven't had a lot of time to sit with who we are, find out what that is, and be able to not only discover who we are more deeply and have a deeper connection and relationship with self, but then also how do we hold on to that under the face of pressure and a demand to compromise, because when we're in a place where we're really holding on to our individuality, we're able to more comfortably move between my experience of I and my experience of us without compromising my sense of I, without giving myself away. I'm learning to be able to hold on to myself more effectively. And that's a skill set. It takes time, it takes practice, and it takes the willingness to challenge self and to sit in the vulnerability that can evoke for us. So we're not challenging our partner to deeper intimacy and experience. We're challenging self to do that. We're challenging self to be able to say, well, what would happen if I showed this part of me and I wasn't attached to how my partner reacted to that? That if they gave me positive validation on that, that's lovely, but I don't absolutely need that to define myself and feel good about who I am. It frees us up to connect with our partner in a whole new way. It frees us up to connect with ourselves in a whole new way. And it can be so powerful when we explore those things. And like I said, we're able to make space for difference between ourselves and our partner, but we can stay connected at the same time. We don't need to withhold or punish our partner in some way because they're not seeing the world the way we do. We've got room to be okay with those differences. We've got room to be okay with different emotional responses, and we're not demanding of others that or trying to control others, and the same is they're not doing that for us. And when we come out of that sense of false fusion, where there's way too much enmeshing between two people, and ironically when we come back a bit more into our own individuality and the courage to sit in that, then we can start to have truly more deeper and more powerful connections. So I hope this gives you some more tips on how to keep your relationships alive and vibrant and joyous, and take connection between yourself and your partner to a whole nother level, but being aware that there are consequences to that. You're going to have to be the kind of person who's ready to self-challenge, to sit in what that brings up for you and not make that about your partner, but rather to examine that for self. And if you can do that and go through that, there's massive reward at the other side of that experience. So I hope that today's episode has been something that you found useful and insightful. You're welcome to reach out to me at emergencetraining.com.au. That's the website. I do one-to-one work with people in relationship dynamics, and I also do in-house and public trainings too. And if you've got just any ideas about episodes you'd like me to do, more than welcome to entertain the thought of those as well. So thank you. For those of you who have already downloaded and subscribed the series and are watching these clips, thank you so much for your support. And for those of you who perhaps this is your first episode, welcome. Thank you for watching, and how you support the kind of reach I'm really passionate about. Better education around relationships, then how you support this is, again, download and subscribe to the channel, and like I said, welcome to visit me at the website too, and we hope we'll be with you on future episodes. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, bye.